Hello! Welcome back to another live stream with me, Daniel Hindrikes. In this live stream that I do every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm right now working on a mobile app, but we're not using Xamarin Forms as I used to do. We're still using Xamarin Forms, but not in the way that most of people do, because we don't using XAML, we don't using C# to define UI, we're using Blazor, and the project called Blazor Mobile Bindings, or if it's Mobile Blazor Bindings, maybe. It's an experimental project from Microsoft that are open source on GitHub. So just go to .NET Xamarin Mobile Blazor, maybe. I think they changed the name of it. So let's take a look where to find the code. Contribute. Build from source. Mobile, yeah, it's .NET Mobile Blazor Bindings. So it was on the Xamarin organization before, but now they have moved it to .NET. So this is the fifth stream I do in this topic, and you can find all of my recordings of the stream on my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for my name, or maybe you can search for App in the Cloud, and you will find it to see what we have done in the previous streams. But just to recap it, we're building an app, an e-com app, so you can browse product categories, you can browse products. Right now, I'm working with a mocked backend, but in later streams, we will build that also live here on the stream using some Azure services, maybe Azure Function, Azure Search, whatever we find out that will work for the purpose. But today we will continue to build on the app UI using Blazor. So let's dive into Visual Studio to see what we have done in the previous streams. So here is Visual Studio. You can zoom the text a bit. But before we start coding, let's start and run the app. I'm mostly using the iOS simulator during those streams because it's much faster than the Android emulator, and it's much faster to build the code. So that's the reason I'm using iOS. But all code that we have written should be able to run on Android as well. But we maybe can try that later. But the problem is when I start Android emulator, it also took over my input devices. So I had some problem with that during a stream earlier. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. So I don't want to start that, to risk that now, but I can prepare for another stream with the Android emulator. So here's the app. It's not very nice looking yet. On the first page we just have a label right now, but we have those tabs, and of course we will add icons to them later. But if you go to categories, we have creating this category tree, so we can navigate to products, we can navigate to a product details page, and all this is done with Blazor and with Xamarin Forms shell. So Blazor have what they call the shell navigation manager. In normal web Blazor, you have the regular navigation manager, but in this case you use shell navigation manager. And when we're using shell navigation manager and shell, we can only run this on iOS, Android. Maybe you can run it on Windows, but right now I'm using a Mac, so I'm not able to do that anyway. But we cannot run it on Mac OS because shell is not supporting Mac right now. Maybe it will do that in the future, because when we get to .NET MAUI later this year, Mac OS will be first-class citizen. So hopefully they will support shell and Xamarin Forms then. So otherwise, there's nothing that stops us to use Blazor Mobile Bindings for building Mac apps as well. I have another project. I think I showed that in another stream that is called Tiny Server Bus Explorer. Let's do like this instead. Open a new instance of Visual Studio because otherwise it will close this one. Yeah, okay, it did. But this is a project. I'm building it primarily from Mac OS and Windows. It's also Mobile Blazor Bindings, but in this app I using just web content, but this is not the right project, I think. Let's open it up again. This is an old project, not the one that I use. Stream. No, this is in my open source folder. Here we have it. So here we have the most of the UI as web content, but it's running inside of the app. So it's not running on a server, it's not running in WebAssembly, but I write more or less everything with web content like this. I think that is pretty nice if you already have a Blazor site and you want to have a native mobile app and you don't want to run a regular web view. You can run it inside of the app instead. And the reason I built this app like this is because some limitations in WebAssembly. The package, let's see what the name was. Not here. Package. It's in the core project, of course. It's the Azure Messaging Service Bus. I was not able to use that in WebAssembly. And this is just an open source project, and I don't want to pay for a server. So I decided to make a native app of it instead and move the code into the Blazor web view. And run it like a hybrid app. Pretty much the same as Electron does. So that's it. We will not work with that app today, but all source code for that app is available on my GitHub. I will probably package it up and release it via store later if you just want to use it. But it's not ready for that. I need to add some UI improvements, and there are some features left to build before it's ready for release. But the code is there, so you can clone the repository and you can build it yourself and use it if you want to. Or if you just want to check out the code and make improvements. There are probably some ugly code right now that I need to improve later, but focus was on just getting features done fast. Because with my client work, we're working a lot of service buses, and we needed to see information. There are a pretty good Windows client that is open source that you can use, but I'm using Mac, and I don't want to start parallels just to inspect a service bus. And the Service Bus Explorer that you have in the Azure portal is just crap right now. They say it's preview, so that's you maybe should not expect it to work, but you can only, I think, some strange things when you're peeking messages. You get a message rate, you can only peek 32 messages. Why? I have only 5 messages in my queue. So that's really strange. But let's continue with this app. The last thing we did was that we worked with the product details page, and we added some web components, not web pages into this. So we just added a specification component like this. So we have that in our shared web UI folder here. Zoom a bit. Specification. So you can see here, this is HTML. We have not added any content yet. We have the product description in there just to see that we can load it with content. We have a parameter that is the actual product, and we need to have this parameter attribute to use this property from from the code where we use it. So you can see here, if you go back to the product details page, that we send the product to the component like this. And this is how you're working with parameters in Blazor if you build a web app too. So there's nothing unique for when you have it in a mobile app. But we can run the app again, so we can see that we had some problems with the UI and the height of this component, if I remember right. So let's go here and go to the product details page. Here we can see the bottom label. Right now we can only see the button label. We cannot see the specifications view of some reasons. Maybe we need to set actual height on it, because now we have auto for that property, and that doesn't seem to work. If we, for example, setting 100 here instead and run it again, you will see that we have a content there. Just wait a few seconds to the app to build. What we also can do that is that we maybe can add a link to this page on the first page, so we don't need to navigate through the category tree to get to the product page. So we can do that when we have verified that this works. Yeah. Okay, now you can see that we had some more white space here. So, but let's add this product to the first page, and you can see that the route for this page is product/SKU. So we need to know the SKU for it. But I think we can fix that. In a way, we can also do like this. We can take the products categories view, product list view. Then we can create a component of this instead of that we have to use. So we don't have to copy this code, so we can reuse the component instead. I think that is better. So let's do that. We can add a new folder. Call it components. Yep. I think I spelled it right now. Add a new file. And if you have watched my previous streams, you know that we cannot go to Xamarin Forms. We need to go to ASP.NET Core, and then we will create a Razor component. So product item maybe, to not have conflict with other products classes like this. Okay, now we have this product item, and this is not a web component, so we cannot use HTML inside of here. So let's remove that, and we can go here to products list view. Then we can copy this for now. We will replace it later. So, okay, now you can see we need to have product tapped method also copied, or I will say we have to move it. So let's do that. Like this. We also need to have a parameter to the component. So let's create one. Parameter. And this needs to be a public property, public product. Get like this. Maybe we need to have a default value. Let's see how we did here. In this case, we loaded it like this, but it should be fine. In that case, yeah, that will work, because in the list we will not load it before the loop is running. So we can go here and we can replace this with with the product component, but we need to add a using to the namespace, and we can do that here in this component if we want to, or we can go to imports _import.razor and add it here, and it will be added for all of our components. Tacklestore.clients.components, like this. Now we can use that component whatever we want. Product item should not need the whole namespace like the IntelliSense said. So let's try. You should also remember this is just an experimental project, so the IDE is not working perfectly all the time. But since I used Mobile Blazor Binding the first time, it has been much better. If that is improvements done in the project or in Visual Studio, I don't know, but it works much better now than it did before. So we can do like this. So this indicates that it's a build error, but we try to build it to see if that is the case. Because sometimes it indicates an error, even if it's not an error. So let's see if... okay. Navigation Manager does not contain a definition for Navigate to Sync, and that is because we have not injected the Navigation Manager into the component. We also have another problem here. This is using a product variable that we had in the loop, but now we need to use the property instead, so we replace it with a property like this. Okay. Let's try to build it to see if the build error is gone. Okay, still some error. See what that could be. We had one here. Maybe we should add a line break there instead, so it will be easier to write code. Okay, now it should be fine. Rebuild. It seems to work because it takes a little bit longer time now than it did before. When we're waiting for that, we can go here to the product list view and we can add a breakpoint here, and then we can see what the SKU is, so we can load that product on the first page as well. Okay, let's run it and see that it works before we're doing something else. We still have the horrible main screen, but yeah, now we are here. Hit the breakpoint. SKU is just call me gig. Copy that one and let the debugger go. Oops, now we have some exception, key not found exception. Let's see if we can see the whole message. I still don't know why they have exceptions outside of the screen. Maybe because I changed resolution before I did the stream, so it will be easier for you to read the text. But they don't handle that pretty good. The given key product item was not present in the dictionary. Okay, the given key. Let's do like this. Okay, we have exception catch point. Product list view. Okay, so it looks like it will not find this component. Okay, but let's try to add the whole namespace instead, even if we should not have to do that, but we can do it anyway. Tackle store clients dot components product item. Okay, let's see if this works better. Rebuild it and be sure that we will get new code when we're running it. Yeah, let's go. Let's see if this works better. It should be. Otherwise, we need to move it to some of the other folders, but it works pretty good with the pages folder that is we created. So I guess it should work with the components folder. Otherwise, I think it's a bug. Yeah, now it worked because now we had them here. Okay, now we can go and add this component also to the first page, the main page. So we don't want to have hi here anymore. We want to load some product. Oops. Override on initialized async. This needs to be protected. Async keyword is something we also need. Await this base call. And I like to have the base calls first in the method because I'm thinking that we are extending the method by overriding it. I only add it in the end if there are a specific reason for it, and I don't think that is the case now. So we will have it in the beginning of the method. Now we can go to the details page, then we can copy the code to load the product. Okay. Then we can go back to the main page, product. Then we need to create that property. Let's see if Visual Studio can do that for us. No. Okay, so public. It don't have to be public in this case because it's not a navigation property. Private product. You can also use a field if you want to, but I think it feels better for me if it's property. And if I remember right, the SKU was comic gig, like this. I copied it, but since that I have copied other things, so it will not work. So product. Yeah, let's try to build and see if we have any build errors. It seems to be fine. Okay, let's go and run it. And now we should also be able to navigate to the product because the navigation is inside of the component. Oops. SKU comic gig doesn't seem to be found. Or what products? Okay. Okay, it seems that we need to run this get method first. Okay. We took the easy way here and loaded it like this, so we don't need to load the categories first. Okay, we can do that. Just some ugly code before we are ready to add the real backend. We can do as we did before. Let's just set the breakpoint here to get some values that we can use to hard code it in for now, so we can focus on building the UI instead of focus on structuring data. Okay, of course it will not work of course, so let's go back and comment this code away for now. You can also comment this away to be sure that we don't have any problems with it. Categories, ice fishing, balancing, boom. Here we have a category, it was one, it was easy. So let's go here and load that as well. Category service, no. Product service, get, and category ID is 1. And then we just can discard it. I wait it to be sure that it is finished. Okay, let's add a comment here, remove later. Okay, let's see if it works better now. If you have any questions, you're very welcome to ask them in the chat. Whenever you want, I will try to answer them. So here the app is. Again, we wait a few seconds more. Okay. A big crash. Let's see if we can try to object reference not set to an instance of an object. But where? Because we don't have the debugger to stop on the exception, but we can add a breakpoint here to see what happened. That's the wrong file. We'll add it here, of course. Text order, product item. Let's see what we have inside of that. We have a grid, so it should be able to be standing on its own. So, but let's run this again and see what happened. When we have the breakpoint added to the main page. Okay, here we are. Okay, let's set the breakpoint here to see what happened. And run it again. Yes, so you hit the first breakpoint, wait the second one. Okay, it could be, the reason can be that product here is null. So if we add an if statement here, it will probably work. I don't think we're running C#9 now, so we just load like this. And I like to have white space before if statements. I think that is make a code more readable. Okay, let's try to run this again. Maybe we need to add a call to state changed here, but maybe not because we are on this method. But sometimes we will need to have that after wait. But I don't think that is the case in on initialize the sync. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah, it works better now. Waiting for the response. Took a really long time now, I think. Or maybe it's completed. It's completed without stepping with the debugger. So now we can navigate to the product details with hopefully just by tapping this item here. So now you can see we are in product details view. So that worked. That's great. That will save us some time when we don't have to navigate through the category tree. But we still have the problem that we cannot see the actual content of the components. So maybe we need to set some height on it here as well. Let's try height as 100. But we don't really want to do that because we want to have that dynamic loaded numbers of specifications. So it can adapt to the data. But that is maybe one of the limitations we have right now. Yeah, now we can see that we have the description text there. So maybe we can rename the component to be, so then we can use it for description instead, because we don't have any specifications data yet. Description. Description, yeah, I spelled it right. A change here. We will still have products as a parameter. Horizontal options is fill. Let's try with vertical options fill. Fill. Layout. You need to specify the enum right now when we are using Blazor. If using some forms with SAML, we don't have to do that. We just can write fill. But now we need to do like this. Layout options dot fill. See what happens. Let's try to run this again. Have a NuGet package updates. Maybe we have from Blazor Bindings. No, that are still on 0550 preview. Okay, so now we cannot see it again. Looks like we need to specify some height, but we can also try to add a star here. The last thing we'll do before we add some actual height for now. Of course, we can have the whole product page as web content if you want to, but I wanted to show you how you can use a component just in part of the page. But if you have to set a value for height, I don't think that will be useful in many cases, because we often have dynamic loaded content. But we can have 100 for now, it's fine. So we now have title, we have price, maybe we need an add to cart button here. So we have in the first row we have the image, then we have second row or the second cell, because everything with Blazor Bindings need to be wrapped in a cell to be able to specify the row number. But in this stack layout we can add a button. Text, add to cart. Then we need to have on, see if it have on tapped, clicked maybe. Yeah, we have on clicked like this. So can we see any type of that? But we can do a nice lambda expression there. So we can do protected and not protected, just private. Async task add to cart. And we don't need to have any input there because we have the product context already, so we know what product we are on. So let's try this. Async add add. The intelligence doesn't work. Yeah, help us here. Add to cart. Okay, let's see if this works, or if we maybe have some input here. But we can try to build it to get a better error message what is wrong. One error, cannot convert lambda expression to type bool because it's not the delegate type. You can also add a weight there, but I think we need to do like this because there are probably some input to it. Can also be, as we have to do in Web Blazor, that we need to add an at before on click there. Okay, let's try to do it like this. See what happened. Nope. But okay, let's do like we did up here in the product item. We add a gesture recognizer instead. Categories, details view. Remove that. Or we can go, first we can go and read the documentation to see if they have any idea how to do that button. Okay, we can just do like this. Okay, let's do that instead. So go back, on click, add to cart. Let's see if that works with the async method we have or not. Add to cart, should be fine. Let's try to build it before we're running it. At least it seems to be fine now. Yep. Okay. Yeah, just try to run it and have a breakpoint there to see that it works. Sorry. Sorry again. Okay, let's navigate to the product. Hit add the cart button and it works. Okay, so now we need to handle that. For now we can create a static cart service where we save the cart just in memory. New class, cart service. Public async task, because in later steps we maybe want to write it to file or maybe we want to send it to a server, so we make it async even if we will not use that right now. Async save or add is maybe a better word in this case. Add, then we have a product. Let's make this method static, then we can have a public static list right now with the product. We call it items. Okay, so just items, or of course we need to have a cart item so we can specify how many, things like that. So public class cart item, public product, I don't know why I copied that one, because nothing should be reused. You can not double int is better for quantity. Okay, maybe we can use a record instead of a class, because that what it is, and the think product also is a record. Yeah, it is. So we use a record, C#9 feature, like this, or item, new cart item, product is product. Quantity is 1. But first we can also do like this. This will of course have a default value, so we don't need to instantiate list. And it will use cart item. This is also one nice thing with C#9, that we can just write new like this. So if items.any product.skew is equal to product.skew. So if it's already in the items list, instead of adding it again, we can increase the quantity. So our item is items single dot product. We can use single or default, like instead, then we don't have to do fetch it twice. Item is items.single or default. Like this. Then we can check if item is not null. Then we have item.quantity and add 1. Then we can do a return statement because we don't want to run more code after that. Then we can do like this and just add that item to the items list, the cart items list. Add item. Of course, items.add item. Like this. So now we can go here back to our product details view. We can add cart service dot add, and we can pass the product to it. Wait. Yes. We can remove async keyword now because we don't running any async content. Then we can have task.completed task as the return instead. We need to add that in the end of the method as well. Okay, let's run the app to see if it works. Okay, you have 3 build errors. Let's see what that is. Some missing expected. That one is closing. That one. Okay, cursor. Okay, this was not the C#9 project, but we can go and change that. 7.3 is the default for .NET Standard project, but you can change it if you want to have a later version of C#. So you can do that in the CS profile, and if you're running Visual Studio for Mac, you can also do that here. So C# language version 9 or latest major. You can use latest major in this case. Let's try to build it again and see if it works better now. Yes, it did. So let's run this. To see if we can add some content to the cart. Add to cart. Seems to work, but we of course need to add some visualization to it. So let's create a cart page. Add new file, ASP.NET Core and the eraser component and cart page. Yeah. Then we can go to our app shell and add that page to the shell. So we can copy the categories, then we can cart, we can have a route to it, carts page. Okay, let's go. Cards page, we cannot have HTML inside of it. Override on each line. Override on initialized async. What I really miss here in Mobile Blindings is to be able to run on appearing. I have not found out how to do that yet, because when we are returning to the cards page, we of course want it to reload. Protected. Override async. Wait, the base call. Format the page. Okay. Now we're good. But of course we need a get method here to be able to fetch what we have in the cart. So public static get no. So we need to have a return type, list of cart item, get. Return items. Yeah. We can do task here as well, so we can replace it with other code without changing the signature. Then we can do task dot from result here, items, like this, to get rid of all warnings and things like that. So now we have product details view. We have let's go to cart page and fetch the content. So we need a property, private list cart item. Just call that items, get set and add default value to it. List of cart item. Items is, we can do like this. Or items is cart service dot get to get all the items added to the cart. Then items dot add range, and then pass the items list to it. The problem now is that have another problem here. Items list of cart item. We need to await it. But the problem here now is that the cart will load when we're starting the app. So to be able to have it updated, we can add some topic and subscribing model. So I used to use a library called TinyPubSub that is written by my colleague Johan Karlsson. So let's add that to the project. TinyPubSub. Here it is. We'll not use the forms package, just the base or the actual package. So we add that to this project. Then we also here can subscribe to changes of the cart. So let's do that. tiny pub sub. We need to add using tiny pub sublib dot subscribe. Then we add a channel, just a key or a name or whatever you call it. Tiny pub sub, call it channel. So we can add a cart updated, like this, cart updated. Then we specify action, what should happen when that occurs, and then we can just reload it. Let's do like this. Items is sweet. Add as async keyword there. Now we probably need to call state changed, but we don't add that now to be sure that we need that, so we can verify that first. So we can go to the product details view to publish the event, or we can do it from the cart service. I think it's better to do that from the cart service, because we can add products from other places to the cart as well, and we don't want to add that code on every place maybe. So tiny pub sub dot publish cart updated. Okay, now we can add some UI here. So we will have a stack layout. We'll have a for each to loop through all items. Items like this. So let's just write out the title to begin with. Item dot product dot title. Okay, to see if it works. Yeah, it should. So let's try. Set a breakpoint here in the cart updated handler. Yeah. Go to the product, add to cart. Yeah, we had a breakpoint there already. And now you can see that we have cart updated. Do you think we will get an items in the list? No. But we also have another issue here, it seems too, that we cannot read because it's outside of the screen. So no content found for shell content. I know why. Every shell content needs to be a page. Like we have here, for example, we have content page. So we need to wrap the content here inside of a content page. Like this. Now it should work better. But we need to rebuild it and wait for it to be visible. Yeah, here it is, the simulator. Just a few seconds left now. Yep, we can go to cart, no items. Go to the product, add to cart. We can remove that breakpoint because we know that it works. We can see here we get one item back, but we don't have any visible items. But let's fix that. The only thing we need to do is to call state has changed. So let's run that again. And the reason that we don't have to do that in uninitialized async is probably because it's know that you often change code in that method, so it's calling it after it had run. But in this case, we're outside of that scope, so the framework doesn't know that it has to do that. So let's go to product, add the cart. You can remove that breakpoint. Choop. So, and now go to cart. And now we have one item there that we can work with to make the cart to look a little bit nicer. So let's just add quantity and maybe the image there, because we only have 4 minutes left of today's stream. So we are here. We can add another stack layout or a grid. We can go with stack layout for now. Maybe we will redesign it later. Orientation, we should use vertical in here. Layout options. Not layout options. What's orientation? Orientation, stack orientation is the name of the enum, horizontal. Put the title inside of it. Then we can add label, text, item.quantity. We can also add the image for now. Image source. Okay, that's source and item dot product dot images dot first or default, because all products maybe not have images. Okay, so let's try this again. Quantity cannot convert from int to string. Okay, let's do on to string then, like this. So this is the last thing we will do for today's streams. I will be back on Thursday, and we will continue to work with this app. Add a cart, got the cart, and now we have it. We have the image, we have the title, and we have the quantity. It doesn't look nice yet, but at least we have the content there. So if you want to try to run this yourself, or if you just are interested to take a deeper look at the code, it will be on my GitHub, and I will push the changes we did today right now. So that will be the last thing for this stream, is to push the changes so you can look at them. So git add, we're adding all changes, we commit them. Today's stream code. I'm not good at commit messages, as you can see. Git push. So now the code is there for you, so you can take a deeper look on it. Thank you for watching, and remember that all streams are also published to YouTube, so you can watch them afterwards, and you can watch them here on Twitch also for, I think it's 14 days. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on Twitter. I'm also very welcome to get feedback, because I want to be better on this, so just submit your feedback to me on Twitter. Via tweet or maybe a direct message if you want to. Thank you very much for watching. See you on Thursday.